For anybody who listens to the Sean Hannity program on radio, he does a show Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, I guess most stations just choose to whether or not they're going to re-air past shows or if they're going to air an individual who I call the Sean Hannity moron, and his name is Joe Pag. He did a show having to do with the insurgent refugees who are coming here from Syria. And the show itself was good because he had a lot of discussion with an individual woman who had an encounter with a Muslim during a seminar. And she talked with him about the conflict of interest between what Muslims believe and practice in comparison to Muslims saying that people are biased or bigots towards them directly. And in that regard, I would have to say that I agree with his guest and what she said, because Muslims, they practice and they follow the Quran. The Quran has a particular criteria within it that states that they are allowed, whenever they want, to have a holy jihad. What is that? That is a permissive act by Muhammad to execute and kill people because they don't accept the Islamic faith. And they consider anybody who does not accept Islam to be infidels. Now, this is a joke. If America is seen by Islam as being infidels, which is why they say 9/11 happened in the first place, why is Obama being heard on the Sean Hannity show and on the YouTube and everywhere else is saying, number one, America is not a Christian nation, and more importantly, he has said this verbatim, America is a Muslim nation today. He said in one interview that if you did a poll of just an average American citizen and you asked him, are you a Muslim? He said the results of that poll would show that there are more Muslims in the United States as a whole than any other Muslim country in the world. In other words, there's more of us in America who are Muslim than there are of any other predominantly Islamic nation, like Saudi Arabia, the Arab of Emirates, the people of Turkey and other countries. And here Obama's letting 20,000 of these so-called refugees coming into the United States. And he's like, we can't stop them from coming here. You know what he's saying, really, to everybody? It's this. I'm a Muslim, and I'm going to let everybody come in here who wants to. Because the faster they can take over, the faster I can stay where I am. And for Obama to say the things he said about America is an absolute lie. More than it just being it's retarded. But it's also the fact that there are more illegal immigrants in this country who are siphoning and just like a sponge, it absorbs all the water. Well, the Mexicans are absorbing all of the monies that people pay into the system, and they're using it. And they're not putting money back into it. They're not paying taxes. Why? Because if you're an illegal immigrant, you're not considered a citizen, so therefore you're not legally required or obligated even to pay taxes. And that's why Obama has probably been doing this since he became president. He has been broadcasting messages to the Mexican government. He's been telling the Mexican people, you come here to the United States and you will never have to leave again. You can come here free of charge. You can use every service we have at our disposal. And he's been saying this over and over again behind the camera. Nobody ever hears him saying these things directly in front of the camera, except when he gave his ominous amnesty law. And even that was actually passed by executive order, by the way. The United States, as a people, are indifferent to the whole thing. They don't care, because all they care about is me, myself, and I. And that's what it's about to the average person. They live in their own little world, and they don't care what happens. They don't care what Obama does or what he doesn't do, as long as nothing affects them. As long as they can stay in their own little world, they're happy.
Let's say I've got a bag of your favorite candy. And I've got 100 pieces of that candy in that bag. Man, are they delicious. Oh, they're so good. And I offer you to have some. Hey, why don't you reach into the bag and have some of this candy? And right before you reach in, I say, oh, just so you know, I poisoned one of the candies, and you're going to die if you eat it. But, dude, that's 1 out of 100. Come on. So much good candy in there. Just reach and have some. Come on. In fact, have your children reach in there and have some. Come on, have some candy. How many of you would reach into the bag? They don't lie. Don't be so far to the left dork that you think you have to make something up, or else you look stupid for having the opinion the other way. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Would you reach into that bag and grab a piece of candy knowing that there's a very, very slim chance, but there's a chance that you'll die if you eat it? Better safe than sorry, right? No way you'd have your kids reach in there. No way. But for some reason, we are obligated to take on everybody who wants to come here, no matter whether we could check their background or not. Isn't that something? That's the country we live in today. We've got to be smarter than that. We have to use our brains. We have to increase our intelligence on who's coming here. And it's all such a time that we're convinced that we've done those things. We shouldn't even be discussing this. It's a dumb discussion.
Well, this video today has to do with mostly what I call the travesty of radio journalism, because on this particular Sunday, he was doing an interview with an elderly man who called in after he finished this particular subject on the Syrian refugees. And the old guy was talking to him about how Obama has lied, how he has manipulated his office since he took the oath to protect the Constitution, to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the freedom, if not the national security of this country and its people, and he's flushed that out the window. And with Joe Pag, the old man was hearing him saying these things about what Obama has been doing, and he cut him off mid-sentence before he even had a chance to say much more than maybe 45 seconds of airtime. Now, why did he do that? Well, in simple terms, he has to be able to keep his rating quotient. Joe Pag turns around and says, Obama's the greatest leader we've ever had. Obama is not an idiot. He is a very smart, he's a very intelligent man. He's the greatest leader we've ever known in this country. And I don't have the recording because I had stopped taping it by that point. And it was almost 4:30 when this happened. It's like 4:15, I think. But it was on November the 22nd, 2015, last Sunday. And when I heard it, it just turned my stomach, because the old guy was saying what this country has been through in the past 7.5 years that Obama has been president. And Joe Pag, a stooge, he is not an impartial or an open-minded journalist to allow every listener who calls in equal time to share their views. He cuts the guy off just like in mid-sentence, sort of like if he had a machete in his hand, he'd have cut the old man's head off. Nobody thinks of the fact that women and children are also Islamic stooges. This means that women have been shown to adhere, if not become pacifists. They want to do what Islam says, and in most cases they have. Because when the story first broke, if you've heard about this in Paris, the woman who supposedly blew herself up, it was changed. They became so adamant in saying a woman would never do such a thing. She would never kill herself. She would never this. They would never that. So they turn around and say, well, she didn't kill herself. She didn't blow herself up. She was an innocent bystander next to somebody else. I question that because I say if a police officer is standing there when this whole thing was unfolding, and they didn't come out and say it right after this story broke that a actual female Islamic terrorist in Paris was the first woman in Europe to kill herself by blowing herself up. That don't jive. I mean, that's just like saying that because Osama bin Laden was a Muslim, you cannot photograph him as he looked after he was shot down by those Navy SEALs in Pakistan. You cannot see his body being dumped overboard on board that ship. There is no evidence to show proof that he's even dead because they're saying, well, he deserved a Muslim funeral. When you kill 3,000 people, you're not deserving of anything. So that fact in itself proves that when the government or the media chooses to, they will subvert the information just as surely as anybody else in government who doesn't want people to know the facts. And Joe Pag is no different. He cared about himself before. He did not want to give this old man equal airtime. Why? Because what he was saying was true. This is verbatim. Pag cut the old man off, said, well, we got other phone calls here. We don't have time to listen to this. And then turned around and just kind of slashed every remark the old man has said by saying, Obama's not a liar. Obama's not a hypocrite. Obama's not this. Obama's not that. And he painted this beautiful, bright picture of a great leader who has served America for almost 8 years with a spotless record. And that, to me, was sort of like, forget it. This guy is not all there. And that's the impression I got from listening to him. And I'm going to tell you, I ain't never listening to Joe Pag again because he's not impartial, he is not open-minded, and he certainly doesn't give everybody the same rights to share their feelings on the air. And Sean Hannity, if he ever sees this video or if he hears about this video, I'm going to tell you, Sean Hannity, you should fire Joe Pag right now because he is not an open-minded journalist, if he even considers himself to be a journalist. Before I close, let me say one other thing about Obama. Recently, he's been saying to the American public this very fact. America is not a Christian nation. America is a Islamic Muslim nation. He said if you took a poll right now today, he said you would find that there is a consistent number of Muslims in this country that outnumber any other Muslim nation on earth. He said we are the biggest, if not the largest Muslim nation ever to exist in the world. And I say this, if that were true, then where's all the money coming from that pays taxes? Because most of these people who come here are either illegal immigrants, and in such case they don't pay taxes anyway because they're not legal residents. And yet he lets Mexicans come here all the time, doesn't he? Lets them come across the border whenever they want to. And I think by the end of next year, in 2017, he's going to still be there. That's my own impression. I think that's what's going to happen. I think people are playing a game, a mind game. They want to believe that he's the greatest leader, so therefore why should we have him leave? Because I guarantee you the blacks probably feel like that right now. They want him to stay in office forever.
But the moderates are totally irrelevant because when you look at the number of 15 to 25% radicals and you look at the large number of the Muslims around the world, that translates to 180 to 300 million radicals ready to walk into a room and blow us all up to smithereens. That's as big as the population of the United States. And the reason why we should be concerned about this tiny, itsy-bitsy radical minority that everybody talks about is because it is the radicals that kill Joe. It is the radicals that behead. It is the radicals that wreak havoc around the world.